Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to today's episode of Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass. This is session number 22 of our Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass. How are you today? I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a very bright start to the day so far. Yeah, I've had a very bright start to my day. I've done my jogging, I've done my exercise and my warm-up, done my early morning reading, every positive thing I can think of doing this morning. I've done my prayers. So I'm looking forward to a lovely flow to the day. And hey, talking to you today also makes it even more positive. It's one of the positive things I look forward to doing every Monday and Wednesday when I come on live and talk to my people about things that we share common passion for. So today it's all about mortgages, and it's all about properties, and it's all about educating and enlightening us in the areas of mortgages and protection and properties, bringing us up to date as to what's happening in the mortgage and properties industry in the UK, and new things that we need to know or need to learn. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about help to buy schemes. Yeah, it's been on the news recently. I think it was yesterday was on the news about the government's plan to extend the help to buy deadline, right? So because it's been on the news, we just want to discuss the current help to buy scheme as it is, and the new one that is about to kick in April, because there has been some changes around the help to buy schemes, and the new proposition will kick in from April 2021. So the current one as it is, the deadline for anyone who wants to benefit from the help to buy scheme as it is to agree a sale by December 2020. So the current help to buy scheme will end by December 2020. If you don't agree a sale by December 2020, that's it, right? By the time it's April next year, the new one will kick in. So for you so that the completion can happen between that December and the time that the new scheme is going to kick in next week. So that's why it's in the news that the government is planning to extend the deadline beyond December 2020. So why is this in the news, and what's the plan, and why are the government considering this? That's what we're going to be discussing today, and we're going to be discussing the current help to buy scheme versus the new one that comes in April. What is the difference, or what are the differences, and what are the implications of the extension of that scheme if the government does that? So that's all we're going to be looking at today. So the government's plan to extend the help to buy scheme beyond December 2020. First of all, let's look at the background of help to buy scheme. What is help to buy scheme? How did it start? What's the background? Now, help to buy scheme was a scheme that was introduced in 2013 by the UK government. The aim of that scheme is to help people who want to get on the property ladder to get on the property ladder. Because as at that time, banks and lenders were not lending enough, right? The criteria was strict. Getting a mortgage was, an uphill task, especially for first-time buyers. So the government stepped in and introduced the help to buy scheme, which is only available for new builds. So the scheme runs like this. The government will put in 20%. It's called help to buy equity loan scheme. Let me just make it clear. The help to buy scheme I'm talking about, it is the help to buy equity loan scheme, because there are different help to buy schemes. There's the help to buy shared ownership scheme. There's the help to buy ISA scheme, which ended in November last year, and then there's the help to buy equity loan scheme. So this session is dedicated to the help to buy equity loan scheme. Now, as the name implies, it's an equity loan scheme. So the government is going to take 20% equity in the property that you're looking to buy. For properties inside London, it's going to be 40%. So the government can loan you up to 20%. In cases of properties that are, hi Jacob, good afternoon, thanks for coming on. You know, the properties that are inside London, you can get, the government can loan you up to 40% of the value of the property. For properties outside of London, it's up to 20%. So all you need to do as a buyer, as a first-time buyer, as a buyer, is to put down 5%. Hi Olakule, good afternoon. I was going to come back to you. I got your missed call, so don't worry. I'm going to have a chat with you later on, okay? You need to put down 5% deposit, and the government comes up with 20%, and then the remaining 75% mortgage, the remaining 75% you source through mortgages. So you are required to come up with minimum of 25% mortgage, minimum, right? So you cannot arrange less than 25%. Hello, Olakunle, well done. Yeah, you cannot arrange less than 25% mortgage for you to benefit from the Help to Buy scheme. The minimum mortgage you have to arrange is 25%. The government is going to put down 20%, and then the minimum deposit you are also asked or allowed to come up with is 5% to be able to partake in the Help to Buy scheme. So when the government does this, what happens next? The government, if you now buy a property through this government Help to Buy scheme, let's say, for example, you came up with 5% and the government came up with 20%, and you arrange a 75% mortgage to make up the property purchase price. The government owns 20% equity in your property. That's why it's called Help to Buy Equity Loan Scheme. So the government owns 20% of the value of that property. So if the property, you bought it for, say, £200,000, and the government gave you 20% of the value, it means they loaned you £40,000. And you came up with 5%, which is £10,000. And then you arranged £150,000 in mortgage, which is 75% of the value of that property. For the first 5 years, you are not going to pay the government anything in terms of interest. That is the 20% that the government has given to you. You're not going to pay any interest on it. Hi, I'm a Diamond. Well done. Thanks for coming on. It's Chuku. Well done. Thanks for coming on. Brother Patrick, thank you for coming on. So for the first 5 years, you're not going to pay the government anything, right? Then after 5 years, from year 6, your interest on the government part of the loan will be 1.75%. Okay? Remember, you still have your 75% mortgage that you took. That part of the mortgage, you are going to pay interest on it from day one. It's only the part of the government's 20% that you're not going to pay anything on for the first 5 years. But you're going to be paying £1 every month, you know, as a management fee or whatever fee it is, admin fee that the government has called it. That one is for the lifetime of the mortgage. On top of that, government, you're going to pay £1 every month. Now, from year 6, you will now be paying interest of 1.75%. Now, every April, that interest is going to be increased by the retail price index, right? By the retail price index plus 1%. So by however much inflation measured by retail price index goes up in the next year, they will add 1% to it, then plus the 1.75% you are paying. So you might find out that by April in year 7, your interest payable on the government part of the loan has gone from 1.75 to 3.75 if additional 2% was added to the 1.75%. And that will be the case every April, every year, to going up, you know, in that way. Okay, so bear in mind that every year your interest to the government on the part of the loan might be going up every year. And what you are paying to the government from year 6 is interest only. It doesn't cover any part of the capital of the money that the government gave to you for the period that you are still in partnership with the government in owning that property. So that 20% that the government has given to you, whenever you want to pay it back, you can pay it back anytime, really. But anytime you are ready to pay it back, you can pay it back either by selling the property or by remortgaging, right? Or if you've got any spare cash, you want to pay the government. If you want to pay part of it, you cannot pay less than 10% in part if you want to pay. Now, remember, the government gave you, say, 40,000 pounds. From the example I gave, 200,000 pounds property. The government gave you 40,000 pounds. If you're going to pay back 10% of it, say in year 6, you're not going to just pay back, half of 40,000 pounds. The government will come and they will value your property. Whatever the value of that property is, you are going to give the government 20% of the value of that property if you want to pay the full money back. If you want to pay half of it, you're going to give them 10% of the full value of that property. So let's say, for example, within 5 years, your property has increased from, the value of the property has appreciated from 200,000 to 250,000 pounds. The government gave you 40,000 pounds based on the value of that property 5 or 6 years ago. Now, the property is now worth 250,000 pounds. And you say to the government, oh, I want to pay your money back. The government will say, thank you very much. We'll come to your property, we'll value it. It is now worth 250,000 pounds. What you will pay to the government is 20% of 250,000 pounds, which is 50,000 pounds. That is what you are owing the government at that point in time. So not the 40,000 pounds the government gave you. You are not owing them 20% of the value of that property. And that's what you're going to give to them. So if you're ready to pay everything, then you pay them 50,000 pounds. If you want to pay half of it, which is 10%, which is the minimum you can pay if you want to make part payments, you pay them 25,000 pounds. The remaining 25,000 pounds remains there. Whenever you're ready to pay it, you pay the balance. Now, in the same way, if the property has reduced in value, say if the property is now worth 150,000 pounds after year 6, the same measure applies. You pay the government based on the current value of that property, even if the property value has fallen. 150,000 pounds, 20% of it now becomes 30,000 pounds. So the government has lost 10,000 pounds. You now pay them the 30,000 pounds because the property value has dropped. So that is how the current Help to Buy scheme runs, right? So, and that's how it is designed. Now, the aim of the government in doing that in 2013 was to help especially first-time buyers to get onto the property ladder. But that scheme isn't just limited to help to first-time buyers. Home movers, people who already own a property, can actually benefit from Help to Buy equity loan scheme as well. Because as long as by the time you are completing on the property of the Help to Buy scheme, the other property is gone. So you shouldn't be owning a property by the time you are completing the property deal on the Help to Buy scheme. Some property developers have come up with a smart way of making that happen. They can part exchange your existing property for the new one that you want to buy, because this scheme is only available for new builds, not existing properties. It has to be a newly built property. It has to be a new build. So some property developers can part exchange your existing property for the new one you want to do, and then the difference they can now arrange in finance, right? Or you can choose to sell your existing property through the conventional way of selling property, maybe to an estate agent and all that, and get rid of it. And as long as you don't own the property anymore, yeah, you can now take part in the Help to Buy equity loan scheme and be a beneficiary of it. So for existing property owners and for first-time buyers, the current scheme is applicable as long as you don't own a property by the time you are completing on that deal. So now the current scheme as it is was set to end by December, which I mentioned earlier on. And then the new scheme, which was introduced by the government, will now start by April 2021. I'm going to tell you what that new scheme entails later on. Now, because the current scheme was meant to end by the end of this year, anyone who wishes to take advantage of the current scheme is expected to complete their property purchase by December. Hi, Patrick. Good afternoon. By December this year. Now, house builders and property stakeholders, especially developers, and there has been high-level lobbying going on in the government quarters. putting pressure on the government. And this has been backed by the housing minister, Jenrick, putting pressure now on Rishi Sunak, the chancellor, to approve of this extension. And the pressure is on the government to extend that deadline by at least 3 months. The reason being that because of the lockdown, a lot of the building sites were put on hold during the lockdown. So for like 3 months, they couldn't build. And that has kind of delayed the completion timetable, or the project completion timetable for a lot of the new builds. So a lot of people who were expecting to buy the property and exchange couldn't do that because there has been a delay in finishing the project and the new builds. So they're now lobbying the government to say, even if it's extending this thing by 3 months, so that it doesn't have to end at the end of this year, at least another 3 months can be extended for this to happen. It's going to cost the government extra money because that's extra 3 months again that the government will have to, cough up this money that they are loan, even though it's a loan, but it's costing the government money, because whatever loan they give out, they're not getting anything back for the first 5 years. So that's money given out and not coming back for the first 5 years, and they are relying on the property prices increasing for them to get anything reasonably back when it's paid back. But then there'll be interest coming from year 6, but that's 6 years down the line. So the pressure is on the chancellor to extend this deadline by at least 3 months to allow people to allow property developers to complete the property projects and to allow people enough time to really get this deal done. So that pressure is being mounted on the government. Lobbyists in the government quarters, trust me, there's a lot of lobbying going on for different things to happen, in different industries. And every industry have their own lobbying group and their own pressure group that is really putting pressure on the government to get, some policies and some decisions in going their own way. Now, Rishi Sunak, I don't envy him at this moment, the chancellor, because there are lots of people pulling him from all angles, from all ways, from all places to, give them some kind of largesse or giveaway by the government. And he has to really make sure he strikes a balance between giving out too much and still getting something back for the government. Now, the argument around this is that this extension will help property builders to build, and it will boost property activities in the property sector, because now the UK economy is very frail and there's a lot of reliance on the property sector to kickstart the economy. Last week or a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the ripple effects of the stamp duty relief that the government has introduced. That what it will do to the economy is that when people save money on stamp duty, the government is expecting them to spend that savings on things that are related to their property purchase, like buying new sofas, buying new fridges, buying home appliances, getting carpenters and craftsmen to come and do some decoration. Every different areas of the economy will get a boost by that. So that's how vital the property sector is to the UK economy, and the effort by the government to drive the economy upwards again after the lockdown. So you see, but there has been some criticism, against this Help to Buy scheme for some time now. And one of those criticisms has been that this scheme is actually just subsidizing property purchase for people who can afford the property anyway. That a lot of people who are taking advantage of the Help to Buy scheme are not really the people that the government has intended for them to get the help. For example, research shows that more families with over £80,000 in income are benefiting from the Help to Buy scheme than those with under £30,000 income. So the argument is that these people can actually afford to buy this new property anyway without the government's help. But they are taking advantage of it anyway and taking the 20% from the government, subsidizing the purchase of the property, and then, after 5 years, some of them might just move on At least for that first 5 years, they have not paid any interest on that 20%, and they've used that 20% to help themselves to upgrade onto a bigger property. And the property might have appreciated after 5 years. They can actually sell it, pay the government off, and move on to something bigger. So some people have been using it just as as a ladder to step onto and to help themselves, because they see it as free money for 5 years. And that criticism has been high as well, to say that even the first-time buyers for whom this scheme was meant to help, a lot of them have not been able to get that help, because they may not have qualified for the mortgage that they want to get. They may not be able to get the mortgage that they need to buy this property. But the guys who are benefiting from it are people who are qualified to get a mortgage by virtue of their income, because their income can carry 75% of the mortgage. Their income can carry even up to 90% of the mortgage. They can afford to, borrow that much. But they will borrow less because they can afford it. And those who are the first-time buyers are not really benefiting from this, because they are either priced out of the market, or they can't get the necessary mortgage required to make that happen. So they've kind of been priced out of it. The other criticism is that developers are using that scheme to enrich themselves, because it's basically free money. It kind of guarantees the sale of the property that they are building at whatever price they put there. And some of those properties, have been overpriced. Some of those, to be honest with you, some of those new build properties have been overpriced. And because developers know that whatever price they put there, the government will bring 20% of it, and then you just go and get 75% mortgage and put down 5% deposit, and the deal is done. One particular developer, Persimmon Homes, was particularly mentioned by Vince Cable in 2018. Vince Cable then was the leader of the Democratic Party in the UK. So he was of the opinion that Persimmon Homes made £1 billion in profit in 2018, and near about 50% of their homes were sold via Help to Buy scheme. About 50, so about half of their property sales was financed through the Help to Buy scheme, and they were smiling home with over £1 billion in profit. So these guys were basically just leeching on the government and making so much money from the government Help to Buy scheme. But hey, they're a business. They haven't done anything wrong. Okay? There is no reason for them to be ashamed of themselves, and there's no reason for them to be crucified. The government came up with the scheme, and as every business, these guys have stakeholders, they have shareholders. Vince Cable was the leader of Liberal Democrats. That was the party I was talking about, the Liberal Democrats in 2018, when he criticized. And part of that criticism really got to the government, and they sat down and said, look, we've got to do something about this. The real people who want to help in this are not getting the real help, and then the property developers are having a field day. We're going to redesign this. So the government came up with this new shape and this new look of the Help to Buy scheme that is going to commence in April 2021. So, but the good thing is, since 2013, right, over 272,000 people have bought their properties through the Help to Buy scheme. So 272,000 people have been able to achieve their property purchase dream through the Help to Buy scheme since 2013. So this scheme has helped a lot of people who wouldn't have been able to buy a property in the first place to get onto the property ladder. Forget about the abuse. Every policy and every scheme has a loophole, unfortunately, that can be exploited. And people who are exploiting that, you cannot blame them. Just like the tax system. Every tax system has a loophole. People will exploit the loophole and take advantage of it. That's how smart people get away with things. They have not done anything wrong. They are only exploiting the loophole in every system. But we cannot take our eyes off the fact that this scheme has helped over 272,000 people to get onto the property ladder. Now, if this scheme is not extended beyond December 2020, The argument is that about 18,000 people who would have benefited from this scheme will be missing out by that December deadline. Can the government really afford to lose these 18,000 people who would have bought properties anyway? And imagine the ripple effect it would have on the economy if these 18,000 people are given the opportunity to at least get an extension and be able to complete their property purchase, just like 3 months extension. Can the government afford not to do that? And about 40% of these people, of these 18,000 people, will not be eligible for the new scheme that is coming in April 2021. So 40% of 18,000 people is about 7,200 people will not be eligible for that to April 2021 new scheme. So that's why the pressure is on the government to extend this scheme beyond December 2020. So, and if the government does not do that, the implication is that the availability of homes available for Help to Buy scheme will be reduced. And reduction in the availability of these homes is not something Olakunle is saying that house prices have gone up in Luton, so most people who are supposed to benefit from the scheme could not get a mortgage. Yeah, Olakunle, that's right. Luton in particular is one victim of house price inflation. But house price inflation, there are two sides to it. For homeowners, it's good news. For home buyers, it's bad news, right? So for people who own a property, when house prices are going up, they are happy because it means they can remortgage in a few years' time, or when they want to remortgage and get some more money out of their property. Anybody who owns an asset will want the asset to be appreciating in value. But it's bad news for home buyers because it means that the more house prices increase, the more out of reach it is for them. It means that if you are saving 10% to buy a property of £250,000, and by the time you've saved £25,000, the same property you wanted to buy for £250,000 is now worth £280,000. So you need to start saving extra £3,000. So it's just like the closer you get to it, the further away it gets from you. So I can understand where you're coming from, and that's absolutely true. House prices in Luton, not just in Luton, different parts. In fact, in Nottingham, in June alone, house prices in Nottingham went up by 4.5% in June alone. All right. So house prices have been going up even recently, not just in Luton, different parts of the country, especially cities and towns that have good transport links, facilities, and good employment prospects and all that. House prices there do appreciate. And I understand as well from what you're saying, Olakunle, a lot of people who want to get a mortgage cannot get a mortgage because the house prices keep increasing, and the requirement for deposits now after COVID is even stricter. For first-time buyers, you cannot get 95% mortgage anymore. The minimum deposit required for first-time buyers now is 10%. So 10% deposits, some first-time buyers cannot afford it. And that 10% deposit, 90% loan-to-value mortgages are very scarce at the moment. In fact, only few lenders now, a couple of lenders, are offering 90% mortgages. So your best chance of buying a property now as a first-time buyer is to cough up 15% deposits. That's where you see more availability of mortgage products, around the 85% mortgage terrain. That's where you see more products available. 90% is limited, right? And you have to meet the lender's criteria as well. So it's an unfortunate situation, Olakunle, but then it's a reality that we are facing at this moment, which is why the government have decided to redesign this whole Help to Buy scheme, which I'm going to talk to you about now as the new scheme, what it looks like and what shape it's going to take. So the new Help to Buy loan scheme, this is what it looks like. From April 2021, it's now going to be limited only to first-time buyers. So existing property owners from April 2021 will no longer be eligible for the Help to Buy scheme from the government. That's the Help to Buy equity loan scheme from the government. So it's going to start from April 2021 and it will run until March 2023. So from that time on, it's still going to be the same thing. 20% equity by the government to you. If it's a property in London, you can get up to 40% equity from the government, right? For properties outside of London, it's 20% equity. For properties in London, it's 40% equity. Now, the scheme will kick off in April 2021 up till March 2023. Now, the maximum house price is eligible for that property now is based on regional caps. So the government are now, before now, it was a flat value of £600,000, maximum house price of £600,000 within and outside London. So the government have now brought some reality into it to say, okay, across different regions in the UK, house prices differ. So 600,000 is not realistic across the whole of UK. So they have now looked at every region and they have looked at the average house prices in those regions and they have decided what the maximum house price cap will be in that region. If you want to know what the house price cap is in the region where you live in the UK, get onto the government's Help to Buy scheme website and you will see the different price caps for different regions for the new Help to Buy scheme that the government is going to be introducing. So now, for example, if you live in the northeast or in the northwest, the maximum house price that is eligible for that scheme from April 2021 will no longer be 600,000. It will be something, say, within 150,000, 180,000, depending on what the average house price is. So there is now a cap according to the regional house prices, coming down to London as well. So, and then at least 5% of the deposits still has to come from you, and then you still have to source 75% mortgage. So in total, 80% minimum of the value of the property has to come from you through a combination of your deposits and your mortgage. In whatever proportion you want to do it, that's up to you. The government, all they are saying is that we're going to give you 20%. Yeah? The remaining 80%, if you want to put down 40% deposits and get 40% mortgage, is up to you. If you want to put out 30% deposit and get 50% deposit mortgage, is up to you. But all we know is that 80% balance will come from a combination of your mortgage and your deposits. And the mortgage you are getting must not be less than 25% in value. Okay? And the same thing with the interest. No interest payable for the first 5 years. And only from the 6th year will you be paying interest. Now, interestingly, under the new Help to Buy scheme by the government, you pay 1.75% after year 6. But now, for the incremental interest now is now going to be based on consumer price index, yeah, and which includes the occupiers housing costs index. So it's just an index that measures the average living cost or average living cost of households in the UK and by how much they increase every year. If it increases by 1% every year, they will not add another 2%. No longer 1%. You remember the existing scheme says retail price index plus 1%, then added to the 1.75%. Now it is now the consumer price index plus 2%, added to the 1.75%, which is the incremental interest rate you're going to pay into the government as the year goes by. So the equity on the equity the government is giving to you, again, it is 20% outside of London, 40% inside London for properties within London. The equity will now be secured on your home as a second charge. Okay, so the government is taking a second charge on your property. One thing I forgot to mention is that when the government has a second charge, or indeed any lender takes a second charge on your property, there are things you cannot just do on the property. Under the Help to Buy scheme, you cannot remortgage that property except you want to remortgage it to pay the government off. Okay? Because the government's interest in the property. So if you want to remortgage it, it must be to pay the government loan off. Otherwise, you cannot remortgage it to say, oh, this property has increased in value, I need a new car. I remortgage, I go and buy a new car. No. As long as you're still owing the government, any remortgage you're carrying out there has to be approved by the government, and it has to be for the purpose of paying off the government loan. When you pay them off, then you can do whatever you want to do with the property. It's none of their business. You cannot carry out extension work or any refurbishment work on the property without the consent of the government. They need to know what kind of changes you are making to the property and make sure that the money you are using to make those changes, could you have used it to pay them off, or you just want to blow the money on the extension and still owe the government? Or the changes you are making, is it going to be something that is going to negatively affect the value of the property? Say, for example, you want to put solar panel on that property. Some solar companies, when they come to put solar panel on your property, they are actually leasing the roof. So there's a separate lease agreement for your roof. They will lease that roof and they will mount the solar panel there. So from whatever income that is generated on there, they are paying you some money for leasing that roof. Okay, and you're saving money on your electricity. So it's some kind of complex agreement and arrangement. So some lenders will not allow you to lease the roof on the property, because that means that when you are selling the house, that roof leasing is a separate contract that needs to be settled before you sell the house. So if you're buying any property that has solar panel on it, make sure you find out what sort of arrangements went into it. If the roof has been leased to a separate company, so it means a separate company owns the roof, and they have to be paid off, and the agreement has to be settled before the house sale is completed. So make sure those things are sorted before you complete on any property. Don't just go and, this property has a solar panel. That's fantastic. I'm going to be saving on my energy deal. Find out what the contract is before you jump onto it. Okay? So the equity loan scheme, we are still on the new Help to Buy equity loan scheme. You can now pay it. You can pay it off either by selling the property or repaying your mortgage. Okay? And or when you reach the end of the loan term. Those are the ways you can pay the equity loan off to the government. If you wish to repay it earlier, you can do so, but you cannot pay less than 10% if you wish to pay it in parts, right? Now the amounts, again, you borrow from the government is the value the government is going to take when you want to repay them. If you borrowed 20% from the government, when you want to repay, it will be 20% of the value of their property. So the amount you are owing the government on your equity, your loan increases by that amount every year according to the property valuation. Now, what is the difference between this new Help to Buy scheme and the current one? So under the current scheme, the interest rate rises every year after the 6th of April. So, and then under this particular scheme, it rises by retail price index under the current scheme plus 1%. But under the new scheme coming in April, it will rise by the consumer price index plus 2%. Okay? Secondly, is that the existing scheme is available for existing homeowners and first-time buyers. But by April 2021, the new scheme will now only be available to first-time buyers only, no more to existing homeowners. The current scheme, the new maximum house purchase price, the current scheme, the maximum house purchase price is 600,000 across the UK. Under the new scheme coming in April 2021, it will be based on a regional cap of house price around that area based on the regional cap. That's the maximum purchase price of any property that will qualify for the new Help to Buy scheme. Now, and then the current scheme runs out in December 2020, subject to the government's pressure to extend it by another couple of months, which the government may end up succumbing to that pressure. In fact, from the feelers we're getting, an announcement might come in on Friday, announcing the extension of that scheme. When it happens, you heard it here first. You see, that's how we tell what's going to happen before it happens. Yeah. So we keep our nose and our ears to the ground, and we try to find out. And once we hear it, you'll be first to hear it here on this program. So, and then the new scheme comes in April 2021 and runs up until March 2023. Apart from that, everything else remains pretty much the same. Okay, folks, this is where we're going to round it up today. And thank you very much for being part of today's program. And thank you very much for watching and for listening. Remember, there are still lots of stuff in my YouTube channel. I've uploaded some recent things there. If you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, you should get, if you subscribe, make sure you click on the notification button. There's this sign like a bell there. Click on it. It means if you click on that notification button, anytime we upload a new video, you'll be the first to know. And then you watch it and you listen to it before everybody else gets to hear about it. Okay? So there are lots of episodes that we have uploaded already on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed, please get onto YouTube, search my name on YouTube, Ike Naomi Dike. It's very simple. Yeah? Subscribe to that channel, and then you can watch catalogs of the past episodes that are on there and what we discuss. That's where you find our Modesty's Money Masterclass, which we do every Monday. Anyone you miss will be on there. And our Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass every Wednesday is also on our YouTube channel. Thank you very much, and I'm going to see you guys again on Monday during our Modesty's Money Masterclass. And next week, Wednesday, again, we're going to come back with another interesting package of Modesty's Mortgage Masterclass. Hey, don't forget to give us your feedback, all right? Whatever you think about what we are doing, please let us know, good or bad. Give us thumbs up, leave us a comment, leave us a question. If you have a question, we need your feedback as well. On any platform you're hearing me speak, if you like what we're doing, please share the video and let others, learn as well and educate themselves. And I hope to see you guys again. Have a wonderful day. God bless and take care of yourself. Bye now.